Imagine this. World War II is raging across the globe. Tanks are rolling, cities are burning, and entire nations are locked in a desperate struggle. But far from the main battlefronts, deep in the rugged Caucasus Mountains, a different kind of war is being fought. A war for identity, for freedom, for the very soul of a people. This is the story of a man who traded his pen for a rifle. A man who left the comfort of the city to become a voice for the voiceless. A phantom of the mountains. His name was Hassan Israilov, a poet turned rebel, a lawyer who became a legend. In the 1940s, as empires clashed, this young Chechen writer made a choice that would seal his fate and echo through the history of his homeland. He returned to the high valleys, not as a visitor, but as a defender, ready to stand against one of the most powerful states on earth. This is the story of how one man's courage became a symbol of a nation's unbreakable spirit. Hassan Israilov was born in 1910 in the remote mountain village of Galanchos, a place where ancient traditions were as solid as the surrounding peaks. He grew up poor, but his spirit was rich with the stories and heritage of his people. From a young age, he showed a brilliant mind and a fiery passion for justice. He joined youth organizations and excelled in Soviet schools, a path that was supposed to mold him into a model citizen of the new era. His talent was undeniable. His gift for words and powerful oratory skills took him from his humble village all the way to the grand, bustling capital of Moscow. There, at the Communist University of the Toilers of the East, he trained as a journalist and a lawyer. He was on the fast track, a success story, a boy from the mountains who had made it in the heart of the empire. He saw the system from the inside, learned its language, and understood its power. But the more he learned, the more he saw the growing gap between the promises of equality and the harsh reality his people faced back home. His heart never left the mountains. After his studies, Hassan returned to the North Caucasus, his mind sharp and his pen ready. He began writing articles, not praise-filled propaganda, but sharp, critical pieces that exposed the truth. He wrote about the heavy-handed policies that were crushing local life, the corruption that lined the pockets of officials while ordinary people suffered, and the relentless pressure to abandon age-old customs and traditions. He wasn't just a critic. He was a voice of conscience. He sent letters directly to the central leadership, believing, perhaps naively at first, that if the top knew the truth, they would fix the injustices. But the system didn't appreciate his honesty. His words were seen as a threat. The pen, which he wielded with such skill, had become a problem for the authorities. For his courage, Hassan was arrested, not once, but multiple times. He was branded a slanderer and sent to the frozen wastelands of Siberia, forced into hard labor in the gulags. Those years in the remote labor camps didn't break him. They forged him. The cold steel of the prison bars hardened his resolve. When he finally returned, any faith he had left in the system was gone. He now knew that words alone would not be enough. He understood that true change wouldn't come from petitions or articles, but from organized, unified action. Around 1939, with the world inching closer to a devastating war, Hassan Israilov made his final return to the mountains of Chechnya. He took a job as a lawyer in the district of Shatoy, but his real work happened outside the courtroom. He traveled from village to village, meeting with elders, community leaders, and ordinary farmers. He listened. He heard their stories of loss, their complaints about unfair land seizures, and their fears for the future of their culture and faith. In their voices, he heard the echo of his own convictions. He realized that a storm was coming, and his people needed to be ready. He decided it was time to move beyond writing. It was time to organize. Using his charisma and deep understanding of his people, Hassan began to build a network of opposition. These weren't grand political parties. They were small, secret groups of trusted men united by a common cause. They called themselves the Special Party of Caucasian Brothers. Their goal was simple yet profound: to defend their land, their identity, and their right to live according to their own traditions. They sought not to conquer, but to preserve. Hassan Israilov, the writer and lawyer, was now becoming Hassan Israilov, the leader of a burgeoning resistance. He was uniting the clans, bridging old divides, and preparing his people for the struggle that lay ahead. As the fires of World War II spread, the Caucasus region became a strategic prize. The German army pushed south, their eyes set on the rich oil fields of Baku. They saw the unrest in the mountains as an opportunity, a weakness to be exploited. Foreign agents began to appear, attempting to make contact with various local groups, hoping to turn them into allies against the Soviet state. They reached out to the circles connected with Hassan Israilov. Here, Hassan faced a critical choice. Would he align his cause with a foreign invader, trading one master for another? His answer was a resounding no. According to reports from that time, Hassan met with these agents, but he made his position crystal clear. His fight was for an independent Caucasus, for the self-government of his people. He refused to be a pawn in anyone else's game. He declared that while he opposed the current regime, he would also fight any foreign army that tried to occupy his homeland. This decision revealed the true nature of his struggle. It wasn't about opportunism or power. It was about principle. It was a fight for genuine freedom, not just a change of rulers. Hassan's loyalty was to his people and his land, and to them alone. This unwavering stance earned him respect, even among his enemies, and solidified his role as a leader who could not be bought or manipulated. While Hassan was building his resistance, the tide of the larger war began to turn. The German advance stalled, and the Soviet Red Army began to push back with overwhelming force. As the central government regained control of the front lines, it turned its immense power inward, focusing its attention on what it deemed internal threats. The Caucasus Mountains, with their proud and independent peoples, became a primary target. A brutal crackdown began. Security operations in the mountains intensified, with troops sweeping through villages, searching for rebels and anyone suspected of disloyalty. The air grew thick with fear and suspicion. Then, in the cold winter of 1944, the ultimate act of collective punishment was unleashed. Under the direct order of Stalin, the entire Chechen and Ingush populations were accused of collaboration and sentenced to internal exile. On February 23, 1944, Operation Lentil began. In a matter of days, nearly 500,000 people, from infants to the elderly, were rounded up, packed into cattle cars, and shipped thousands of miles away to the barren steppes of Kazakhstan and Siberia. It was a national tragedy of unimaginable scale. Families from Hassan's own village, the very people he had sworn to protect, were torn from their ancestral homes. The mountains fell silent, emptied of the people who had lived there for centuries. For Hassan Israilov, the deportation of his people was the ultimate betrayal, the final devastating blow. His homeland was now an empty, guarded territory. His family, his friends, his followers all gone. Yet he did not surrender. He, along with a small, loyal band of companions, evaded the massive security sweeps and remained in the emptied mountains. They became ghosts, phantoms haunting their own land. For months they survived, moving through the forests and caves they knew so well, living symbols of a resistance that refused to die. But they were hunted relentlessly. The state could not tolerate even this small flicker of defiance. The net grew tighter and tighter. In December of 1944, during one of these intense security operations, Hassan Israilov was cornered. In the end, the poet, the lawyer, the rebel leader, fell in battle. He died on his own soil, fighting to the very last. Official Soviet reports painted him as a bandit, a traitor, and a troublemaker. For decades, his name was erased from history books, or mentioned only with contempt. But you cannot erase a legend from the memory of a people. Today, among the Chechens, the name Hassan Israilov is spoken with reverence. He is remembered not as a bandit, but as a hero, a man of intellect and courage, who used both his powerful words and his unwavering will to defend his people during the darkest chapter of their history. He is a symbol of defiance, of an unyielding love for one's land and culture, a voice from the mountains that continues to inspire. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Hassan Israilov is a powerful reminder of the struggles many have faced to preserve their identity. If you found this story compelling, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for more hidden histories. Let us know in the comments what you think about this incredible figure. See you next time.